Let's go to first speaker. Brendan, you have the floor.
Throwing me right into the fire, Mark.
Okay.
Now, thank you for inviting me to come on, though I may have invited myself, but thank you to Mark and to his better half, Sue, and to everyone here. It's great to see you. I hope to be a part of these moving forward and to just give regular updates from the legislature. Mark, how much time am I allotted here? I don't want to speak too long.
5 minutes, but we're not that strict about it.
5 minutes? Oh, geez. All right. I need to condense this.
You can go over if you'd
So
like.
I more or less just wanted to bring folks up to speed. So obviously when COVID hit back in March, we needed to change the way we operate as a legislature. And I think we hit the ground running pretty quickly and really created, I think, credit to the Senate President for creating a series of working groups. Through my role as housing chair, I was placed as part of the safety net working group, which dealt with a wide range of issues and in particular, the eviction and foreclosure crisis that we were likely to face, and played a big role with that. Obviously, with the moratorium, having been extended to October 17th, and now having come and gone without the governor extending it further, housing stability is really first and foremost on my mind. Obviously, we're still in the midst of a public health crisis on top of an economic crisis. So certainly, our office is busy working with different communities as well as constituents that are having issues with unemployment or access to adequate care, or anything under the sun has really been exacerbated by this crisis. But we're trying to work closely with the administration as well as with the trial courts and the new Chief Justice or acting Chief Justice Paul Clary to make sure that we provide as many protections as possible, and also rental assistance to folks, also recognizing that as much as tenants are hurting, we also have small and mid-sized landlords that have also been hurting through this crisis. So we were hopeful that the federal government would deliver us an additional stimulus package with significant funds for cities and in states across the country. That never happened. So we're really trying to work our way through whatever's left of the federal money, and then also to develop a budget, which normally for those folks that tune into the State House news, we're supposed to have a budget by July 1st. And we've had to extend this even longer than I think anyone up there expected. And hopefully by Thanksgiving, I think is what we're shooting for, to make sure that so many worthy programs are funded, and in particular, making sure that we can keep people safely in their homes and make sure that there is adequate PPE among other protections across the district. So the way we've been able to take up a budget so late, one of the things we had to do this year, which was unprecedented, was to extend our legislative session. Typically during an election year, our formal sessions were controversial, or I guess any matter that you need to debate really usually ends on July 31st. We have extended that, and by doing so have kept a few important bills that were before conference committee, basically bills that were still, they had been voted on in the House and in the Senate, but they need to work out the differences. These are 5 key bills I just want to quickly talk about, and I know I'm running out of time, but
Nope, go ahead. You're not.
So we, first and foremost, obviously in a public health crisis, healthcare has become, it has been a major focus, but we needed to adjust some of our approaches. And I think this bill that's, again, still being negotiated, but would ensure that telehealth remains a part of our medical care throughout the Commonwealth long after the pandemic is over. Obviously, we want to keep people safely in their homes, but also we want to provide the best product possible for our consumers at a price that anyone who's been unfortunately had to deal with medical care over the past years realize that even though we've made improvements as a state and country, we're still our costs are skyrocketing. So we think this could help bring down costs and also keep people safe. This also creates a system to end surprise medical billing as well. There's a long list of other things. If people have questions about the healthcare bill or any of these, please just give me a call and I can talk more offline afterwards. Transportation bond bill, another really big piece that brings a ton of funding across a wide range of modes of transportation, whether it's our streets and bridges and roads or our public transportation, and also including rail trails, which I know many folks care about here.
Yes.
I figured it would be a good one to throw to the fans of rail trails out there, but it has a number. It's a complicated bill, but we need more revenue for transportation, and this bill contains a lot of that. Our police reform bill, which I know I've stood with a number of folks out at protests and rallies over the past few months, and this bill, there's a lot of misinformation out there. I don't have time to talk about all of that at this moment, but if you have questions about police reform, give me a call. I've been living it since July, and the main pieces of this bill, it would require the duty to intervene by an officer if they see a fellow officer not doing something not right or not appropriate. It would also create a police certification system. We're one of the few states in the country that doesn't have a statewide system of certification. So this would ensure that if there's a bad actor who's committed crimes or acted inappropriately and is fired in one department, could not then go work for another department. You would need to be certified essentially by the state. Additionally, reform some standard use of force procedures. So getting rid of chokeholds, limiting the use of no-knock warrants, tear gas, rubber bullets, shooting at moving vehicles. It would require de-escalation tactics. Many police departments, again, are already utilizing all these. We believe it should be a uniform system across the state. So this isn't by no means saying Lynnfield police aren't already practicing these. It is saying if it's a best practice, it should be a best practice held by all. But it's a pretty comprehensive bill. Please let me know if you have questions on that. Our economic development bill, this is huge for the economy of Massachusetts, and we're definitely going to need to get this passed, recognizing that even when we're out of the woods for the pandemic, we're going to take a long time to recover. So significant investments in our workforce, clean energy, tourism industry, our restaurant. When you go across all the things that are going to need help, this would help to the tune of $455 million. We're really hopeful that we can get this passed. And it also had a number of really progressive housing pieces on there that I worked on. They might be hard to get negotiated out in conference, but we really wanted to ensure that we're reaching housing production goals, but also that we're reaching affordability goals, recognizing that we have the highest rents and cost of homeownership in the country. So if you have questions on housing, we'll have to talk about that too. And then just lastly, our climate bills, setting the greenhouse gas limit of net zero for the year 2050, which I believe if anything comes out of this bill, that will be one of them, recognizing the speaker, the president, and the governor have all been on record, saying we want to get that done. It also promotes use of electronic vehicles and creates a commission to make sure that we're holding the administrations moving forward accountable for these goals. Some people hear the word commission, they think it's it's kind of a fluff piece and not really all that significant. But we feel that whether it's housing or climate, when we're setting goals, we need to have a wide range of stakeholders come together and make sure that we're reaching those goals. And if we're not, we need to make adjustments and hold folks accountable that aren't doing all they can do. With that, I think I'm probably at like 10 minutes, Mark. So I apologize. I'll have to come back and give updates at some point. But the budget's the last big piece that we need to take up. And the governor's budget that he just proposed last week, it does not have wide cuts across the board. He was able to, through a number of federal funds and the rainy day fund and some other budget items, but they're all items that you can really only use for 1 year, right? Like these aren't going to be reoccurring revenues. So what happens in FY22 and FY23? If these are just one-time sources of revenue, we're going to be hurting. I think the legislature is going to take a closer look. I don't think that we should take revenue off the table, though I would argue that it's needs to be progressive revenue and not hurt the folks that we're trying to lift up after this crisis. Anyways, thank you, Mark, and sorry everybody for the
No, not at all.
Please give us a call at 617-722-1350. That's my office number. We have State House is closed to the public, but we are working hard around the clock. And then my email is Brendan, BRENDAN, .Crighton, CRIGHTON @masenate.gov.
Katrina is here to talk to us about why we should vote no on 1. So the floor is yours, Katrina.
Thank you. And thank you all for having me here to speak with you tonight on this important issue. And my name is Katrina Gaddis, and I'm secure data in opposition to ballot question 1. So I'll be quick with my introduction and quickly open it up for any questions. I'd be happy to answer any that you have after I give my initial pitch. So ballot question 1, which you're probably hearing a lot about, right to repair, is being voted on here on November 3rd. And I'll call it right to repair just in terms of context, but probably not moving forward just because right to repair is already settled law in Massachusetts in 2012 and ultimately resolved in 2013. There was a law that was passed in Massachusetts and then enacted in all 50 states. And what that does is it gives you the ability to take your car and get that repaired wherever you choose. So whether that's an independent repair shop or a dealership, and it ultimately gives independent repairers access to the same information that manufacturers provide to dealers when it comes to diagnostics and repair information. And what we're voting on the ballot right now is actually, it goes much further than that. So we're talking about information far beyond what is necessary to diagnose and repair a vehicle and beyond what's given to dealers at this point. And I think it's important to note that this isn't about the concerns here that are the concerns that are that arise with this proposal are not about independent repairers getting access to information. It's about this open access bi-directional platform that would give real-time remote location data to any third party. We've heard from groups, professors at MIT and cybersecurity, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, et cetera, on how dangerous this proposal would be. The timeline that it would go into effect is incredibly short and irresponsible. And ultimately the language that we're voting on is unsafe. So we're encouraging everybody to vote no on ballot question 1. And I know there are a lot of questions that arise once hearing about the details of this proposal. So again, thank you. And I'm happy to answer anything that you have.
Alex is here to talk to us about ranked choice voting. I didn't know anything about it a few years ago. When I learned a little, I became more supportive. So Alex, the floor is yours.
Sure. Just for some clarity, how much time do I have?
5 minutes, but hey, everybody goes way over, so don't worry about it.
All right, so we will make it, we'll make it real quick. Do you mind if I share my screen for a quick slideshow presentation?
Go ahead. Do whatever.
Thanks for everyone for having me here. I'm Alex Arsenault, the proud field director of the Yes on 2 campaign. We are a nonpartisan, citizen organized ballot initiative petition to bring ranked choice voting to Massachusetts. We are supported by Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Green Party, Libertarians, you name it. They support us because we're not a movement of one party over another or one ideology over another. We are a movement of improving the institution of democracy itself. So we are strictly bipartisan and nonpartisan. We're here to make representative democracy work better for everyone, and we have support from across the aisle because people from diverse political backgrounds understand that. Just a quick just getting here, we collected 128,000 signatures to get onto the ballot. It was the biggest ballot initiative petition in state history. A yes vote on 2 supports the use of ranked choice voting in primary and general elections for state and federal offices starting in 2022, but importantly, not the presidential election and not municipal offices. This is the problem we have with the plurality voting right now, which is that we can have a situation like this where this just happened a month ago. In the 4th Congressional District, there was a 9-way primary for Joe Kennedy's congressional seat, which was open, and the winner of the race won with only 22% of the vote. This is a really undemocratic way to elect our candidates, and even the winner endorsed question 2 and said he would have rather won with majority support. And in fact, every candidate in this race endorsed question 2 in ranked choice voting because they all understood that an outcome like this, a highly undemocratic outcome like this, would be inevitable. To say that the person getting only 22% of the vote is representative of the majority, which is the point of democracy, at least as far as we understand it, is just the 1 + 1 doesn't equal 4 in this situation. So we're proposing a solution, which is ranked choice voting, which is a voting system where instead of just voting for one candidate, you can rank as many candidates as you wish in order of preference. And in order to win the election, the candidate must receive over 50% of the vote. So this is how a ballot looks today, and this is how a ballot would look under ranked choice voting. And just to give you an example of how it works, under ranked choice voting, if someone gets over 50% of the vote in the first round, they win automatically. So it's just like an election today. But where ranked choice voting really kicks in is when we have a split election where no one gets over 50% of the vote. And how ranked choice voting works is that in this case, instead of just letting Barbara win outright with only 34% of the vote, we eliminate the candidate that got the least number of votes, and everyone who voted for that candidate has their next choice counted. Still no one has over 50% of the vote, so we go to another round where the bottom candidate is eliminated, and the candidate, the people who voted for that candidate have their next choice counted, and there we go. We actually find out that Abby was the preferred candidate of the majority of people in this election, and Abby wins rather than having had elected Barbara with only 34% support. So that just gives you an example kind of like of the rounds. I like to go back and forth to give a visual here. And it works for any number of people running in a race. So what ranked choice voting does for us is it eliminates the spoiler effect by you don't have third party and independent candidates splitting the vote and creating a spoiler effect where someone wins an election who's actually not the most popular candidate. And it also allows you to vote for third party and independent candidates without worrying about throwing away your vote. So now you can vote for who you want to win, not for who you think you win. And if your candidate can't win, then your second choice can be counted. You don't have to rank your candidates. You can rank as many or as few as you want. And it gives you more choice and a stronger voice at the ballot box by encouraging more people to participate in the democratic process, and also giving you a chance to state your preference of candidates rather than just stating who your favorite candidate is. So it guarantees that winners have majority support, and it encourages folks. One thing I really like about ranked choice voting is that it encourages less negative campaigning. It actually creates an environment where candidates can campaign cooperatively. And my favorite example of this is in Maine in 2018, in their governor's primary, and this was the first governor's primary in the nation's history to use ranked choice voting. We had two progressive candidates running, Betsy Sweet and Mark Eves. And usually we would see these two progressive candidates competing over the same base and attacking each other and fighting for the votes, kind of like how we saw in the Democratic presidential primaries. But instead, because of ranked choice voting, these candidates were able to travel around the state and campaign cooperatively. And they were able to say, you know, vote for me first and him second, or vote for me first and her second. And that created an environment where people of like minds could actually work together and build their movement rather than having to attack each other for fighting over the same base. This is a list of our honorary co-chairs. We've got Deval Patrick and Bill Well, the former Republican and a former Democratic governor. And a lot of folks from very diverse political backgrounds, you know, folks from Bain Capital and the Boston Celtics, the president of the NAACP of Boston, Harvard University is represented on our board. In fact, if you look at it, we have really broad support from the institution across the board. Ed Markey and Elizabeth Warren have endorsed our campaign. Also Joe Kennedy, Ayanna Presley, Seth Moulton, Lori Trahan, Catherine Clark, Jim McGovern, almost the entire state congressional delegation supports Yes on 2, along with Attorney General Maura Healey and highest election officer in the land, Secretary of State Bill Galvin, and a huge number of other high profile and very politically active organizations, including over 100 state reps and state senators. I know I'm going over time here, so we'll just stop there. Thanks for taking the time to hear me out, and I would be happy to take any questions.